with Cam Rimmer, with Sean Bennett and with John Gibbons in order to talk about predominantly what happened last night. We will get into what's going to happen tonight and at the weekend as well from a Liverpool point of view. But obviously, and the reason why we've chosen to put this show at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, if you're listening live, 12 noon for the podcast, is because of the excitement of Liverpool's game against Manchester United. It was done well in advance. We had that much confidence in the Reds. We knew that it was going to be straightforward for them, and there they are. They do the decent thing for us. Also coming up, we've got into with Paul Butler, and we're speaking to the women's team ahead of what will be a magnificent day for the group on Sunday and for the football club as a whole when they get to lift the trophy, which means that they will be playing WSL football next season. But Liverpool, first and foremost, last night against Manchester United, Sean Bennett. It is a cumulative 9 goals against Manchester United this season. Remembering that Liverpool stopped playing for half an hour at Old Trafford and arguably stopped playing for half an hour last night. In the end, the aggregate score of Liverpool 9, Manchester United 0 flatters the famous Manchester United.
Insane. I think it's my favourite day of the year. Well, I guess my favourite 2 days of the year, given that we went to Old Trafford and did that as well. And I think, it's going to be a good night. When you get into Anfield, it's bouncing. Everyone was singing LA, LA, LA before they even come on the pitch. I just enjoyed every second of it. At one point, I looked up at the clock. It was only like 15 minutes, and I thought, I just don't want this game to ever end. I'm having so much of a good time. But then I also try and take a step back and think of the magnitude of the game, and I think it's easy to forget how big a fixture this is. And I think when Man United are on the decline as much as they are, it kind of, becomes a much of a muchness. But I noticed how much Klopp was talking it up in the build-up, which sometimes he probably doesn't do in such big games. But, he's saying it's the first fixture he looks out for every season still. And he was saying stuff like it's just a privilege to be involved in it. And I actually thought going into the game he was going to rotate a lot more. I think we all know where United are, and I thought we needed fresh legs. We've just played a semi. We've got another derby coming up, but he went a lot stronger than what I thought. And I think that game's a little bit more sentimental to him than I think we all think. And there's a moment when, lots of moments during the game when the whole crowd is belting out his tune, and I reckon he's had little quiet moments to himself there, thinking we're 9-0 up on aggregate against Man United, this just doesn't happen, and the whole crowd singing my name, like, what's going on? But from a footballing point of view, this wasn't just any kind of Man United derby. It's been wedged in between semi-finals and it's a title race. I was so surprised that, yes, they're trying to go for fourth, and yes, they want to beat Liverpool, but I was so surprised they didn't do everything they could to just stop us having a chance of winning a 20th league title. Like, just so shocked at how poor they were. But I was kind of having a debate in my head of Liverpool really, really good, or are they really, really poor? And I actually think Liverpool were really, really, really good, and they were poor as well, but we just made them look even worse. What I loved about the game is we were just thriving in tight spaces. I think there's probably about 2 of the goals that have come from us kind of drawing them into a trap. We've had about 3 or 4 men on us, passing these cute little triangles to get it out, and they fell into the trap every time. And I think I was watching some of the post-match stuff with Salah after. I don't know if you've seen it with Thiago. Thiago's trying to keep a straight face, being all serious, and Salah's just laughing his head off. And he's saying they made our life easier, which they did, and that's not gonna happen often. He was even throwing some digs in at Everton. Don't know if you got onto that bit as well. He's not going anywhere, is he? He's having an absolute ball at the minute.
Well, them enjoying themselves, Cam, I think is one of the interesting things about it. I think that United, they do fall into a lot of Liverpool traps. I've had a look at the stats this morning for a show I'm going to do around it, and United pressure put 2 or 3 times almost as many pressures on as Liverpool. Now they have significantly less of the ball, but they were looking to sort of charge around. I think they had a bit of a plan to follow certain players into midfield from the back line in order to put pressures on, and the extent to which Liverpool just go, all right, then that's absolutely perfect for us because you're just going to leave space and we thrive in space. It did just look like a football team who were genuinely enjoying their evening's work. And you actually probably don't get to see that very often. You maybe don't get to see it in what's normally meant to be a tight, nervy title race where something's going to go a bit wrong. Suddenly Liverpool are playing like it's a pre-season friendly and they're up against lower league opposition.
Yeah, I said on a show the other week that everyone's just in like a party mode, even the fans, and I think that's instilled to the players now. I think the players are seeing that the fans are just taking every game as it comes and we're just all enjoying the ride. Like Thiago yesterday, he was playing like he was in Sunday League. It was absolutely ridiculous. He was just he was just walking around the pitch, and I think even at times he's actually laughing on the pitch as well. But yeah, I mean, you could see what the United are trying to do, but then when they're playing such a high line like that, with the defence you've got, it's just, there's only one way it's going. And then you're just seeing after, I think, first 10 minutes, and then there was a stage in the second half, I'm not sure about everyone else, but where I was, everyone seemed to be a little bit cagey when it was only 2. There was a fella behind me fuming. You would have thought that we were in a relegation battle, the way this fella was behind was behind me. But yeah, in the end, it was just great, wasn't it?
The idea, I think, in there, Cam, that they've got that sort of the swagger about them, they're enjoying it, but they're also simultaneously taking it deadly seriously, I think, is important. But I think also the ability that they appear to have to, they know themselves, even when, and I think they do knock off a little bit in a couple of little periods. I think even first half, it was all just a bit too easy for them. But the thing that they know in the back of their minds is we are just about to create something at any given moment all the time. And I think that's the thing they've got. They've got that absolute certainty in one another. We're just about to create another really good opportunity,
Yeah, definitely. Like, you just know it's going to come from somewhere. And obviously, luckily, last night, it wasn't one of them where it was 0-0 in like the 80th, 90th minute. We needed something out of the bag. Like, you just know something was coming. Either it's going to be down the right, down the middle, or on the left. And there's just all over the pitch now. There's just match winners, and there's a player who can just turn the game on its head. Like, at times, Robbo and Trent are the 2 highest players up the pitch. They could do something. We could do something down the middle. We've just got so many options on the pitch. Like, imagine coming out and playing against us now, and just seeing and then the players coming off the bench as well. Do you know, like, you had Jota coming on last night, for example, and it's just, there's just match winners everywhere. You can just go into any game confident. Like, it must be the hardest thing trying to choose who the first scorer is going to be, because like there's just so different match winners everywhere.
John, on Saturday they play against Manchester City, and I think there's actually not been enough made of the fact that it's BBC One. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. It's being watched all around the world, and it's free to air in Britain, which so much of the football we play isn't. And they get that feast. The general public, the viewing public, as I often say, Nans get that feast, and Liverpool makes so much sense to Nans because they get the ball and they want to get it forward and create opportunities, and they play with a bit of a smile on their face. Then you get last night, which is one of the arguably 2 biggest recurring fixtures in club football. There's that one, and there's Real Madrid versus Barcelona. They're the 2 big ones. It's watched by people all over the world. At the minute, people all over the world are getting a feast of football from Liverpool Football Club.
They are, yeah, and lucky them and lucky us. And I think, everyone just seems to be either enjoying this football team or having, I was going to say grudging respect. It's not even particularly grudging anymore. Everyone, with all the stuff I saw, I did sort of Sky Sports before, and just before they showed, the panel just sort of talking about it, and they're just saying this is an outstanding football team. And as you say, Neil, so nice to watch as well, so enjoyable to watch, and everything's just almost so perfect about it. It's almost like, well, why can't it all be like this? You know what I mean? And that's what you send people to say, like, like you say again, the Nans. It's like, why don't all the teams just play like that? And you're like, well, it's not as easy, unfortunately. It's years of building. It's years of kind of, excellent recruitment, and that's where we've got to now. And that's the point that their manager was trying to make after the game, wasn't it? It's like that this doesn't just happen overnight. And if you want this, again at Manchester United, or you want what sort of Liverpool have got, I would argue that they never quite sort of got to this heights in terms of a one-off season, certainly over consistency over years. They were phenomenal, but he say this sort of takes a long time, and we've been through the process at Liverpool, and listen, it wasn't a particularly painful process because there were still great nights and there was still enjoyable football, but it was you were frustrated at times that the trophies took a little bit longer to come to what we'd have liked, and there was lost finals and things like that. But we're here now, and we've got there together. And when the Sean and Cam before we're talking about the celebration, how it felt like before the game, and then obviously Jordan. I think that's what it is to me. It's like we've been on this big journey together, all together, and now we get to enjoy it. And the players feel like that. They've slogged themselves in these summers, and they've had the tough times, and they've had the frustrating times, and now they're all here together, and they all buzz off each other so much. Like that's what I loved about the Salah Thiago thing, is that I don't know. I reckon if he could have just left them to it, and then for 5 minutes he'd have just gone, "No, you're boss." Do you know what I mean? Like a house party at 3 a.m. when you to tell 2 lads telling each other how sound they are. It sort of felt like you were ready to sort of break into that.
When Thiago didn't want to go off, it actually reminded me of certain nights I've had where I've been on the dance floor and people have been saying, "Akko, the cab's here," and I've been going, "Come on, we can get more out of this." So the cab's, we're out tomorrow, Neil. We're out tomorrow. Pace yourself. We're out tomorrow. More to come. I promise you, Neil. That's what it looked like to me massively. By the way, if you know a Nan, they'd like to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap, they can download the app. iPads are massive in the NAN community. Really, really big deal. So they can download the Anfield Wrap app on that, use the token, show them how to do that. Might be at times, I think a nan would say, bit sweary in places, but they're really good girls and boys. So, I think we can be pro-nan here on the Anfield Wrap all the way through. So if you do know that, do download the app and enjoy it. Sean, the individual parts of the game, for me, the opening goal was just a microcosm of the game. In that, if you watch Liverpool play a lot, you know what it is we want to do in that area. And it feels like Manchester United must have known that as well. And yet there they were, falling into every single one of our traps. And it was even one of the things that's forgotten is Salah has to basically say to Trent, no, leave it. I've got this boxed. That's the extent to which they were controlling that space in that period as they pounded forward. And then there he is. A great shout from John Turner there in the comments. Nans are a big fan of the Jurgen chant. Absolutely is right, John.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, they know the tune absolutely perfectly. They're all as impressed as I am about the use of the word delivered. The ball then is delivered across the box, and there is Diaz showing all of his pace, Sean. It's just almost, it's such a pure Liverpool goal. It's what a Liverpool goal looks like. And the idea that we get to do it within 5 minutes of the game, I thought it just completely set the tone of what was to come.
Yeah, that's example A of them falling into the traps within the first 5 minutes. I thought Salah, he gets the assist, but he's outstanding in that build-up because Trent's got the ball, kind of playing out from the back on the wing. He plays the tightest ball into Salah. He's got about 3 men on him already. And literally 2 passes later, Henderson Mane, and we're in the box. 1 pass later, the ball's in the back of the net. I think it was incredible. And I think it was really instinctive. I think it might have been the team talk I was listening to. And you were talking about kind of more so with Salah, just kind of playing a bit more instinctive and not overthinking things. And that ball was just, because I was thinking, is he going to pull it back to Trent? Is he going to overthink it? Is he maybe going to try and dribble it and kind of, get this goal that we're all waiting for? But it was just split second, didn't even have to think about it.
It was his body shape, Cam. You could almost anticipate every bit of it. His body shape was, this is the thing I'm going to do in a minute. There's nothing you can do about it. And that to me was one of the takeaways from the whole match. From a Man United point of view, was that almost everything Liverpool did, the attitude was, we're going to do this in a minute and there's nothing you can do about it. And to me, that there's lots of ways in which they themselves were pretty dispiriting last night, the Manchester United community. But the thing that will most dispirit them, I would think, would be just that feeling of absolute powerlessness at the hands of Liverpool.
Yeah, and I think that's last night. I think the game earlier on in the season, at the start of the season, teams still sussing each other out. It was still quite early on, but now you're at the business end, and I think last night has shown the biggest gulf between us and United, probably in the post-Fergie era, to be honest, in a way that the only time we were giving the ball away was either an overhit ball that went out or just a misplaced pass. It was never down to United coming in. We were just first at every ball. I thought the pressing last night was the best I've seen in a couple of seasons, to be honest. We were just hunting them in packs, and them go. And then, obviously saying about the first goal, but the second goal for me, that's one of the best goals I've ever seen live at Anfield. It was just absolutely unbelievable. That pass from Mane is just, if that's Kevin De Bruyne doing that, it's on Sky Sports News for weeks, isn't it? Everyone's saying about it. But just every goal sums up and personifies what this team's about, didn't it? We were just so good, and we just came out just in packs. We were just every ball, every second ball. But United, you could, my season tickets, right by the away fans, they were just looking shell-shocked. They were what the hell's going on? And there was even fans getting off on 20, 30 minutes of it, and I don't blame them, to be honest.
No, you would not have blamed them in the slightest for that. John, the other bedrock on which so much of this is built, and it's important to remember, it is what goes on at the back. And already was mentioned before about Trent Alexander-Arnold defensively was excellent, plus everything else that he gives you. Same with Robertson. The 2 centre-backs are just completely, Rashford was looking for scraps, but the point was that he wasn't even being given the sniff of that over the course of the game. He's a quick proposition, Rashford. He's a long way away from having his best season, don't get me wrong, but it was just made crystal clear to him that the game was none of his business.
Yeah, he was very isolated, wasn't he? So you felt for him. So he was in for a tough night, whatever. But, whatever little bits they did get forward was just dealt with. I'm glad someone in the comments mentioned Trent Trent's defensive performance, because I was going to talk about that on the post-match show yesterday, but we kind of got waylaid in jubilation and Thiago love. But he was absolutely brilliant. In terms of the few times where they tried to target him and tried to have a go at him, he was just too strong, too good, and we just wasn't having any of it. Someone there in the comments saying Andy Robertson was 10 out of 10. I completely agree. If there was a higher mark, I'd give it to him, because I thought he was great last night, and especially how he was anticipating and getting ahead of the forwards and winning the ball, and one of the goals comes from that. But as you say, Neil, the two centre halves, it feels like it's 2 or 3 at the moment, and whoever he picks, you expect to dominate the forward line, and that's whoever it is. And listen, United came in a little bit defensive, didn't they? Changed things around second half to have a bit more of a go. But whatever they sort of tried to do, they're up against phenomenal defenders and phenomenal leaders as well. And people who love clean sheets, people who love the battle, people who love to get Liverpool on the front foot and get us going with the passing as well. And whoever he picks, alongside Virgil, you're happy with, because it's Virgil van Dijk's there, and it is absolutely unreal. But also the level that they're playing at too, and the perfect centre halves for Liverpool in terms of how they allow us to play, but also that love of defending and that love of the battle and that love of coming out feeling like they haven't got a sniff against us today is something that sets them apart, I think.
Sean, the thing that they've got now when he picks those 3 in attack, and it's not to in any way, shape or form act as though Jota and Firmino haven't got massive roles to play between now and the end of the campaign. That's even before you get on to Origi, who was interestingly on the bench last night. The 3 of them just are so able to occupy every single footballer on the pitch, almost in a sense, in so many ways. Sadio is just absolutely full of menace and is, just in all parts of the pitch. He's about to hurt you, possibly also in a physical sense these days, that he appears to have very much added that to his game. Then you've got the idea of Salah being the highest scorer in the country and just being so endlessly dangerous. And Diaz is just this constant outlet. Give him the ball in any area, he'll come back, he'll win it with his chest, he'll hold it up, he'll run into midfield if he needs to, or he'll go the other way, he'll spin, and he'll go from there. It is almost impossible to play against. It's like we've got 5 up front. Between the 3 of them, it's like we've got 5 up front. And I just think the idea of containing that at the moment looks so difficult.
Yeah. When you've got a game where every single forward scored or assisted, including the one that's come off the bench, it's absolute perfection. I think we've all probably got different combinations that we'd want to play. I saw Andrew Beasley tweeted that Klopp has now got 10 different combinations he can use for the front 3, which is just dreamland, isn't it? And don't forget, there was a point in the season, probably before Diaz comes in, when we're all talking ourselves up, thinking that Minamino might have to be this this kind of one of our future strikers and one of the lads we need to kind of depend on when we need to rotate. He's not even getting in the team now, and he's actually had a decent run of form when he was playing.
Yeah.
Same with Origi, he's probably going to be gone in the summer, but some of the big goals he scored for us, and they just can't even get a look in now. I think we're just so spoilt for choice. You've got Salah, who's now in the top 20 all-time scorers in the Premier League. He's only one behind Steven Gerrard. 30 goals for the season now, isn't it? What have we got? 10 games to go. Hopefully. And also, and also with Mane, I think he's just in such a great run of form. I know on one of the last shows we spoke about him being reinvented in this number 9 role, but he's already on 19 for the season, and he's not even our second top scorer after Salah. It's Jota, and he's not even getting a game. So it's just like, I've just never seen an attacking threat like this for Liverpool, and so many options, and also so many options going into such a crucial part of the season. And I know a lot of the chat beforehand was about Salah being out of form and blah, blah, blah. But I thought, he's out of form now, but he's going to come into form soon. And he's going to come into form soon when we've got a derby coming up, a Champions League semi-final, an FA Cup final, and a title run. So that's fine by me. You can click into gear at the right time.
Cam, with them at the moment, and the way in which they are pairing, he's ended up with the options that you've always sort of wanted him to have, and I mean that across the board, really. John's already alluded to the idea of any centre half partnership he picks, and I would actually feel comfortable enough throwing Gomez in there on that at the moment. Last week against Benfica, for me, Andy Robertson's comfortably our best left back, but the other lad comes in and creates a couple of great opportunities and has got unbelievable delivery. It's 3 from 5 in attack, as has been said, and in midfield, he's in a situation where it feels as though it's 3 from 4 to start, and then he's going to have the options of Jones, of Milner, to come off the bench and help see games out. And to me, that's, this is an exceptional run where he's got there. And I thought when Keita came on straight away, Keita looked determined to enjoy himself as well. And to me, that's what's startling here, is that firstly, it doesn't feel like it's just 13 of them running for the line. It feels as though it's 18, 19 of them running for the line. But it also feels as though absolutely everybody feels as though they've got a part to play. And that's why this Liverpool team, it looks as though when I say they run to the line, they might actually absolutely sprint through it the way they currently look.
Yeah, I think the key thing is when other teams have like pipped us to the title, sometimes like you think about United 08-09, they had like 3-star strikers or do all perform at different times, City 13-14, but I can never remember a team off the top of my head who've got 17 or 18 players who have all just come in at different times of the season and just been this effective. Like, we could change this team completely on Sunday and even against Villarreal and still be confident with who you're bringing in. Like, as you said, with the strikers now, you could choose any of them. Like, you've got 5 options normally. It's 3, 4 maybe tops, but not 5. In midfield, you can completely change it. Your centre-half pairings, as we were saying before, anyone next to Van Dijk you're fine with. Like, even attack like the keeper. Like, look in the League Cup final when Keller was in goal in a pen shootout and that, you know what I mean? It's crazy, and it's no surprise to me that we're on for the quadruple at this stage of the season, because when you've got this much strength and depth, and like, how many players do you want to play for the manager? Like, there's nobody sulking. And that's just testament to Klopp, isn't it? That there's no one there who looks a bit, like they don't want to be there sort of thing. Every time somebody's getting a chance to get on the pitch, they're taking it. And it's just brilliant. And it must be such a good headache now for Klopp with all these selections, because he could literally change it to whatever way he wants.
He can change it to any way he wants, John, but it feels like, I've just had a little look there at the 2018-19. I remember, for instance, around this time of the season, the 2-0 against Cardiff felt all a bit sticky. They had to come out and do it second half, and that was Cardiff, and listen, Cardiff are fighting for their lives. After that, they do put a great performance in against Huddersfield. We're going to have a really good comparison against a mid-table Newcastle side on the television coming up in a couple of weeks' time, or a week or so's time now. We're going to get to see that. But that one, Liverpool started ever so well, but they began to run out of legs a tiny little bit. Obviously, there's the brilliance of the night against Barcelona. But they do look, and that, by the way, was a great Liverpool team. It got 97 points and it won the Champions League, for God's sake. These look in far better shape now than that team did, I think, at that stage of the season. And I want to be really clear about this. That team just won every game. So, this is the bar I'm comparing them to at the minute.
Yeah, they are. I think they are better. It's a better squad. I think there's a better feeling almost around us as well, a bit in terms of what we can go and achieve. There's a slightly higher belief. That season you're chasing City and you're just sort of hoping that they drop and sort of hanging in there, really. Whereas this year, even though we're still behind, it doesn't sort of feel like that. And there just seems he's got so many players he's got faith in, and that's what we've all talked about here, isn't it? That it just allows you to sort of bring lads in and out and rotate a little bit and keep people fresh and bring people off, even though they're saying no, boss, I'm fine, like we sort of saw last night. And I think that's not to say that we are going to win between now and the end of the season, because you don't know what might happen in a sort of one-off game. But I think they believe it. I think that's what they think they're going to do, and I think that sort of shines through them all.
It does indeed shine through them all. Final couple of words on it all, Sean. The brilliance of Thiago is just glorious to see. It was a tremendous performance. It was everything that you want from a midfielder. I think I've watched the clips compilation of his best moments 3 times since last night, and trust me, it's long. Do you know what I mean? I've seen Academy Award films that haven't gone on for quite as long. It goes on, and it was just unbelievable to watch in the ground. I'm sure it was brilliant on television, but to watch it in the ground is a performance of such talent, but such certainty and such braininess.
I think I watched him that whole game with me jaw just hitting the floor. Every time he does anything, I'm like, what? I've never seen anyone do that with a footy. It's so mad.
He makes really mundane things look incredible, doesn't he?
Yeah, literally. It's like his hips aren't attached to the top half of his body, whether it's like a no-look pass or like even his defending actually thought he was the best defender on the pitch yesterday. Like he was just recovering balls left, right and centre. But even when he's like going to do a tackle, he makes his body look like it's going that way and suddenly his legs are wrapped around the ball the other way. He just defies human nature, really. But I think, if you're looking at him in comparison to other midfielders in the league and guess other players in the league, is ball recovery, is progressive passing. It's completely changing the way that we can play. And he's always off the scale in terms of, where everyone else is. And he's just kind of head and shoulders above everyone. And I think he just adds such a unique dynamic to this team. I was thinking last night, he's obviously an outlier, isn't he, in terms of the types of players that Klopp would sign. And I think he had to, have a bit of a chat with FSG to convince them to sign a player like that for, still a relatively low amount of money. But, for paying that for someone as old as he is, probably we wouldn't have done it. But, just look how he's performing in this team. And I just sat there watching the game last night thinking, God, imagine if Klopp was just given an unlimited budget to buy the best players in the world. I genuinely think we'd win every game for the rest of the time. It's insane.
I think that with him, Cam, I just got the impression last night, he had a lovely chat to Jurgen when he came off. And one of the things I was sort of half imagining in that way that you sometimes do, perhaps irresponsibly, in the middle of it was almost like, this is why I came here. That was why I wanted to come. I wanted to come and do this here in front of these people in this environment, in front of this worldwide audience. That was it. That was what I've come for. This and winning loads and loads of things, please. This is what I'm here for. Because that to me was what it was all about last night. It feels very much with Thiago. We wanted him, but he seems to have emphatically chosen us as the place that he wanted to go and play his football next. And he's that good. He almost got the sense at the pick of whatever club he wanted was where he's going to end up. And it just felt like last night was, this is what I wanted all along. Thank you very much, Gaffer.
Yeah, there was times last night where me and the people sat around, we were just laughing. You're just how are you even doing this in a professional game of football? He's 5 seconds ahead of everyone else on the pitch, and that's with the calibre of players for us. He's an absolute joke. But I felt like last season when it was locked down behind closed doors, he's probably come, as you said, he's had the pick of the bunch of teams to go to, and he's come to us, and it's all behind closed doors. And obviously what happened last season happens, and then it's and then this season comes out, fans back in the grounds, and he's just this is it, isn't it? But that's one of, if not the best performances I've seen from a Liverpool player at Anfield. It was just, every time he was getting it weren't just simple passes. He was taking out 3 or 4 players at a time with every pass. And he's just, the only thing with Thiago is just I wish he was younger and I wish we were getting him. Because obviously you're only going to get so many years out of him, but you've just got to cherish every moment of him because he's an unbelievable footballer.
The one, John, where he just shows Rashford the ball and goes, the ball's here. And then he goes, but no, it's not now. And this really weird thing when he then accelerates away from Rashford. And I'm like, but Rashford's fast. Why can he can't seem to, and then he's pulling at him and all of this sort of stuff. And then I think another lad comes in and sort of clears him out or Thiago pops it off. But over and over again, it was that idea of you think you know where the ball is, but I'm going to show you where the ball is in a minute. And it was just absolutely tremendous football. It is, as Cam says, I can think of a number of, some of them really rather unlikely, great Liverpool midfield performances across the last 5 years. I always think that Pedro's got a shout in amongst this for his brilliant work that night against Shrewsbury with a team of kids. These performances can come from nowhere. But it doesn't come from nowhere where Thiago Alcantara is concerned. It comes from the fact that he could be the best centre mid on the planet. Yeah, and he's almost been building up to this performance for the last few weeks, hasn't he? He's been playing outstanding, but this was the top of the pile. And there was a couple of things, like you say, where you're like, has he just done that? Hang on. You know what I mean? We were laughing on the post-match show yesterday, saying, you wouldn't have minded a couple of replays in the ground last night just to check sort of what he did. And the showing of the ball, I've never really seen anything like that. The closest I can think of is like a basketball player, one of the Harlem Globetrotters who sort of goes out there and then just sort of pulls it back and leaves the defender looking all silly, trying to sort of steal it, and he's away and at the baskets. And it was that sort of thing, really, as I say, I've already kind of seen in sort of, basketball, really, this idea of showing the ball, boom, now it's gone, it's sort of around. Yeah, he's learning new tricks, he's enjoying himself, and that's what we've all said, and that's what Cam's talking about before, the fact that he's come, he wants to come for this, but I think they all are. I think they're all enjoying themselves, they're all enjoying expressing themselves. They've got so much faith in each other, in the manager and what they're doing, and then I think that's why you're seeing these outstanding individual and team performances. Excellent stuff indeed. Coming up now, we've got a couple of inserts. John, tell me what you've been working away on them. Neither of them are recorded, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to this, they're getting done ASAP, and then this thing will be out as a podcast. Go on. Yeah. So Harriet right now is over at Prenton Park. Is over at Prenton Park. So the women have won the league, which is absolutely fantastic. On Sunday,
They've got the last home game of the season. There's going to be a trophy lift after, so I'd encourage everyone to get down there. If you've not been yet and you think, oh, I don't want to get in the party, just come. Honestly,
everyone wants this party to be gegged into.
Yeah, we want it to be the biggest attendance of the season. We want to smash that record. There's been some great attendances this season for Liverpool women, considering they've been in the second tier, and last couple of years haven't been out of the standard of what we like. There's been some great attendance, but it'd be lovely to smash that. So come in, join in the party right at the end. That's fine. See what this team's all about. And then it's obviously the build up to next season as well. So if you do fancy maybe going when they're back in the Super League next season, starts on Sunday. It's a midday kickoff, so you can do that and then get to wherever you're watching the Merseyside derby, be that Anfield or whatever. Come over with us if you want. We'll share a cab.
Yeah.
And so that's on Sunday. So that's something to really look forward to. So Harriet's there, speaker. I think she's trying to get Matt Beard, who's the manager, and a couple of players as well. And then also there's a big boxing event at the arena on Saturday, and Paul Butler, who's a Scouse fighter, waits from Aylesbury Port. He's headlining. He's coming in at 11:30 today, but he's definitely coming. He's texted me this morning.
Excellent stuff.
So he's coming here, and then he's going to the big press conference they do at the Hilton.
Yeah,
stuff like that. I like to think I'm his warm up, but I hope he's not really pumped up. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes they go off these things, don't they?
I don't want him throwing a ticket at you, Sean.
So coming in all full of testosterone and all that, and I'm gonna just want a nice chat.
Yeah. You can be like Eddie in the background laughing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I'm the calm before the storm. I might come over to the Hilton with him, to be honest with you. Just have it.
Back him to the hilt though, obviously. You'd be one of the fellas in the background stood around pulling them apart. It's Gibbo. He was on Sky Sports News this morning. Everyone will say.
Look at him now.
Yeah. The last time I've seen something that aggressive was Nicky Campbell, which John was also on this morning. In the comments here, if you listen to this live, there's a link. We'll make sure the link's tweeted out as well around the women's tickets in there. It is also a 12 o'clock kickoff, up to when you just said before it was 12 o'clock. I was labouring under the misapprehension it's 2 o'clock.
No, they've moved it to 12 o'clock. So
people
could do both. So do both.
It is 12 o'clock, so do both, and we will see you there. I can't wait for that. It will be the absolute business. So that's what's coming up now in the insert. For TAW Live, if you listen to it as a podcast, 31:25, John. Therefore, this is now the second part or the fourth part of TAW Live podcast or YouTube broadcast, depending on your point of view as to where that is. It is a pleasure to still be in the company of Sean Bennett, of Cam Rimmer, and of John Gibbons. As we talk a little bit about tonight, I know people might listen to this a little bit closer to the weekend, but talk a little bit about tonight. Two big games tonight, John, from our point of view. One is Everton versus Leicester. And I say that as a big game. Obviously, Everton have got their own stuff to go through at the moment, but also it's quite rare, although it will happen to Everton a fair bit between now and the end of the season, that sides that aren't in European football and tend to go to domestic cups relatively early find themselves in a situation where they've got midweek and weekend games. So, Everton, it's a home game tonight. It's arguably a more important. It's a game they're much more likely to get points out of than Sunday. That's not to say they can't get points out of Sunday. I want to come on and talk about that. But they've got to find a way through tonight, haven't they, Everton, where I think there's every chance that even if they play to their best, they're going to have an intense 90 minutes against Leicester City.
They need to play well, is what I would say. They obviously need points for the position that they're in, but also going into Sunday, they need a performance. I think I understood where the phrase "the form book goes out the window" came from in football, but I think now it's just completely defunct. There's absolutely no way they can go in to Sunday in the form that they're in sort of at the moment, playing badly and get anything out of it. They need some confidence, to go into that game to think they can get anything out of it. Really, you saw how little the form book went out the window last night for Liverpool v Manchester United.
I think the form book came back in the window last night. I think the form book is being lashed in through hopefully open windows, but that form book, it just keeps getting lashed back in.
Yeah, and it'll be exactly the same on Sunday. So they need some form in that book. So I think that's how they'll be looking at it tonight, as much as obviously the points that they need to get the win against Manchester United, and they're not without sort of victories recently, but they're without many, and that's why they're in the position that they are in. And obviously, since they last played, a couple of teams have picked up a couple more points, and a few things have happened at Burnley and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one tonight. None of the games we want to watch on the telly, which is a bit of a blow, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some sort of notion that anyone cares about football that happens in London, which is one of the many things this country gets wrong. Almost all football that happens in the capital is fundamentally pointless. And the entirety of the history of football bears that out as a point of view. And it's nice that they try. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
I mean, it's the nation's game, so the capital should take part. But taking part is all they're doing.
It's got about Chelsea Arsenal's got about the same amount of relevance, if not less so, than whoever it is that Dulwich Hamlet are playing this evening. And Dulwich Hamlet have got much more going on. Sean, the other one, obviously, that matters is Manchester City's home game against Brighton. From City's point of view, they've had a day more rest than we had. They've obviously looked a little bit thin on the ground all of a sudden, but I think the other thing that's significant for them is the game they've got at the weekend is at home against Watford. So if there's one of these two that you throw your resources in and you see where you are afterwards, I think it is tonight. I think City will be absolutely determined to be as intense as they can manage for as long as they can manage in this one against Brighton tonight. So for me, the major thing is if Brighton can keep it level up until the half-time point, then there might be something worth us getting our teeth into. Ultimately, I expect City to try to do everything they can to find a way, but it does feel like one where just maybe if City are a little bit lacking in confidence, Brighton might just be able to do the Reds a favour.
Yeah, this is the one they're going to want to bounce back with. And I don't think they're going to take this game lightly by any means. And City in general don't really tend to get beat that many games on the run, do they? So I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm going to tell myself that before every game. But to be honest, looking at their running for the end of the season, if I had to put money on games that I think they were going to drop points on, it probably will be Brighton and West Ham, who I think could give them a game. But I'm not even going to watch it. I'm playing footy later with Harriet, actually, so I'm going to be blissfully ignorant until I come home and check out.
What's Harriet like as a player, Sean?
Yeah.
Tough, yeah. Virgil.
So,
Scans the game. Yeah, reads the game from the back.
Absolutely tremendous news.
Virgil van Dijk sat up upstairs, keeping it to himself.
Absolutely amazing. The best thing that's come out of the whole show, to be quite honest with you.
I was expecting a Virgil show.
I thought I enjoyed last night's game. This has absolutely got my attention.
I love the fact she's gone over to see the women at Penton Park. She's took her boots.
Yeah.
Getting all the tips.
There is on it, Cam. I'm sort of with Sean, and I think the best way to sort of treat City matches for our own well-being is, listen, we can focus very much on Liverpool, but the best way to focus, I think, on City matches is very much just check what the score is at half-time and then make your decisions accordingly. There's no match going on. Pay no attention to the first 45 minutes of any Manchester City game. Check it at half-time and go from there.
Do you know what? I'm a bit more different. I was saying last night to my mate, I was like, I'm just going to do 20-minute intervals and just go like that. So
sound.
If they can get to 20, sound, 40, 60, then it's Towns on the cards. And then if it gets to 80, it's like, wow, here we go. But no, we've just got to do what we've got to do. Like, if we're playing before then, we've got to win our game and then see what happens. And if they slip up, they slip up. And we've got to be there waiting to go into Sunday. But we can hope all we want, but I wouldn't totally be surprised if City score in the first couple of minutes. But then also, you never know with the end of the season coming up. And, you know, we did them on Saturday. We had that massive win last night.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, the form book, John, that you've lashed back in through the window, as Brighton in decent enough nick. They've gone to Tottenham and got something. They've gone to Arsenal and got something. Now, then I do the negative, the opposite of the form book and go, what would be the chances of them getting something from all three of those away fixtures? And sort of conclude that, well, I'm not quite sure. But the point is, I think this Brighton side, I think it loves playing sides that are better than it, or on paper better than it. I think the manager loves the challenge of it as well. I think they're quite a clever group of players, even if they lack a couple of things, like, for instance, a goal scorer. They're a group of players who you get the impression can take information on, can shift their approach both between and during games. This is I'm absolutely happy with Cam's 20-minute intervals. Trust me, don't get me wrong. But that's my sort of 45, or even see if you can get to the hour mark, because if that's the case, you'd back Potter to be able to use his bench, to be honest.
Yeah, the funny side in that, you know, there's plenty of times this season where, you know, they've lost winnable games or drew games where they've created loads of chances and not sort of put them in. And I think they frustrate their fans. You know, there was one where they were booed off, you know, when they were ninth in the table and everyone's going mad. But I think, you know, the supporters have just found them sort of infuriating to watch because they know how good they can be, and they've shown that in these big games. And I think they'll keep the ball as well, which is a big thing because, you know, Man City, you know, if it's wave after wave after wave, they will eventually do those free passes where they score. Whereas, you know, Brighton, you know, if they get it, they'll keep it for a minute or two, and that'll just disrupt City's rhythm. So I wouldn't say they're a nightmare opponent for Manchester City, because they're obviously not, but they're a tricky one, and they'll do some things that Manchester City won't necessarily enjoy, and they'll look to, you know, play in the space that Man City will give you, because you know, they're such an attacking side. And so I'm hopeful. I'm somewhere between Cam and Sean, I think. Somewhere, you know, and I think, you know, we'll see, but it's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen tonight, because there is a few more opportunities.
Okay. Then looking ahead to Sunday, Sean, I think it's important not to get carried away. Earlier in the season, we went to Old Trafford, we got the result that we got, and not long after we went to Goodison Park and got the result that we got there. But we got more of a game at Goodison Park. And there was more of a stout resistance at Goodison Park. There was more of the idea of we're not getting made a show of. 4-1 in the end is a fair bit of making a show of. Don't get me wrong, in your own ground in a derby, but they always felt as though there was just a bit more of, not least the idea of knowing how to do it. One of the problems I think Manchester United have got is they don't really know how to be crap. Whereas Everton have got years of experience, and so from there you'd end up in a situation where I'm expecting Everton to be much better at making it harder for Liverpool. Is my point. That doesn't mean Liverpool can't score a couple of goals as a minimum against them, but I think Everton will be more committed to the idea of we can be absolutely horrible in this football match for as long as we can be. Keep these out, and I'm not expecting Sunday to be a stroll at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting Everton to do what I thought Man United were going to do last night, and just scrap for your lives to make sure Liverpool don't win another league title. You know, forget the relegation battle. They just want to make sure we do not win another title. So I think it'll be tough, but I think I guess the thing we need to be mindful of, and that's why I thought Klopp might have rotated a bit more against Man United, is legs, because I guess after the Everton game we've got Villarreal on a Wednesday, and then it's the 12:30 kickoff if that still stands. So yeah, I think we'll see changes. Hopefully that doesn't disrupt rhythm too much. But even if we do see changes, it's still going to be a strong team. I'd personally bring in Firmino and Jota. I think Firmino's had some hard lines, actually, not getting into the team.
He's picked up a couple of injuries, hasn't he?
Okay,
games where he maybe would have played. He's had a couple of knocks recently, so he's not sort of been left out quite as much as I think as it seems.
Yeah, but you know, I'd probably bring in Tsimikas and Gomez as full-backs, and then probably try and give Fabinho a rest. But yeah, it's one of them every week. You want to put your strongest team out every time, but I think if you're looking at Everton and the quality they've got and the mentality, and maybe Klopp, I think you had a good point before, John, maybe Klopp looks at the Leicester result and tries to judge how down in the dumps they're going to be about that game, and how low the confidence is, because he does love playing a mad team against Everton, doesn't he? He does love a bit of a mad rotation. So yeah, I'm still confident. I think we'll win. I think it'll be cagey, and I think they'll just want to shut up shop at the back and make sure we don't get a sniff.
It's a strange thing, Cam. I think they're trying to shut up shop against Liverpool's. At times, I think it's a little bit of a, if you invite us on, finally we'll work that out. I don't think he'll rest quite as many as Sean thinks there. I think that there'll be, you know, wouldn't surprise me to see Diaz feature. I think Salah will feature. I think that all the best, saying to, for instance, Thiago, Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, you're not playing the Merseyside derby. I think that, you know, you can want to do that in theory. I think in practice they may well have their own view. But I do take Sean's point, and I think it is something to remember. Again, within the game, our players knew it was Tuesday to Sunday in this one, so they have Saturday. Then they're a bit, you know, they're obviously, I think they were a little bit leggy second half, but they know it's Tuesday, Sunday. Then this one, though, it is Sunday, Wednesday, so he is going to have to be responsible somewhere.
Yeah, and I think this will be the one he'll go with it, with a couple of changes, but I still think it's going to be strong enough to beat this Everton side, because you can tell you want about Everton wanting to shut up shop and stuff, but you've got to have the quality there to do it, and in all great respect, that this is even a go Everton, like, they're not Man City, are they? So I think...
Well, they're not Chelsea. Chelsea have looked aside most able to sort of keep Liverpool at arm's length at bay for patches. They've looked aside all the way through the campaign who've been able to frustrate, and that's the point here. But Chelsea have got really good, experienced, clever defenders.
Yeah, exactly. Who won a Champions League last season. So it's, you know, all the qualities there. But going back to Everton, I think he will make a few changes. I mean, you wouldn't even be surprised if Divock Origi gets his final swan song against these. I mean, remember that team in the season we won the league, and it was December and the league wasn't even won. He still went with a mad lineup, so God knows what he's going to do in this one. But yeah, I think it'd be a few changes, but I think like you could see last night, he's trying to get the game won early. I think the next 2 home games, Everton, Villarreal, he'll try and do that as well, and then he's just trying to rest as much as he possibly can. But he'll still be fairly strong, but I don't think he'll be our strongest 11.
What's interesting to me last night is the subs in terms of who he brings on, and so there would be an opportunity to bring on a few more of the fringe players, if you like. So Regi's on the bench, Jones on the bench, but he doesn't. He does Keita first, doesn't he? Or is it Jota first?
Jota first.
Yeah, Jota first, then Keita, and we're 3-0 up then, and then he does the Milner one at 4. But he's the experienced James Milner, maybe one last shot again for playing against Man United from a Liverpool point of view, but. I thought that was quite interesting that because the game's won, but he's not doing, say, Curtis Jones, or he's not doing Origi, and that suggests to me that wherever possible, I actually think he's going to keep it quite tight 14-15 between now and the end of the season. The only slight wild card is the Newcastle one, with that being 12:30 after the Wednesday night, and whether he rotates a little bit more for that. But I don't know. I thought the subs yesterday were a little bit of a cue to me that actually, if he can go with 14-15 starters, that he rotates around between now and the end of the season. I think he will if he can.
Okay, then. Everyone thinks Liverpool are going to win the game?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Nods from Sean. Marvellous stuff indeed. It has been So Live, produced by Andy Heaton, Harriet and John, with your inserts there with Paul Butler and any of the women's players that Harriet managed to snare. I've got no idea. Hopefully it's all of them. And thank you very much to Sean, to John, and to Cam. It has been
Missy Bo.
Excellent stuff.
Oh, well, it Harriet.
Marvellous stuff. Excellent stuff, Andy, ahead of the game on that one. It's been a pleasure, because this football team is a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, whatever it is you're doing. Liverpool are on the march. League titles, FA Cups and Champions Leagues do not win them.